Welcome to Decisions, Lunch, and Learn, January 21st, 2025. We'll get started probably going through questions or going through whatever we need to go through here in probably about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'll say somewhere around 12:03 Eastern Standard Time. So if you are watching this later on the internet, feel free to fast forward a moment or two. If you are joining the lobby right now, don't feel like you need to waste your time. Go ahead and put that question or commentary or guidance, wherever you want to guide us to, in the QA/chat, and we will start putting some eyes on it. But like I said, we'll probably start publicly talking here in about 2 minutes at this point. So like I said, feel free to put something in the chat in the QA. We can start putting some eyes on it. We've got some folks from the support team on the sideline. We got some folks from the documentation team on this side of the line. And we've got a handful of customers on your side of the line. So between all of us, we can ideally find some answers for everybody. All right. So yeah, like I said, we'll get started here in just a few moments. Feel free to populate the Q&A/chat with questions. We haven't gotten anything in yet, but just another friendly reminder that we are accepting those questions. So man, cool. Yeah, about 30 seconds. We'll start talking. I got some stuff I can talk about. Just, for a reminder, not a reminder, but we don't have any questions in the chat. So, oh, Radley raised his hand. Okay, so then we'll start with Radley. And we'll see where we can go from there. We'll get started here in about, I don't know, as soon as it says 12:03. So just because I told the people in the YouTube universe that's where we would get started at. All right. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you because we are right at 12:03. I'm man of my word. Whenever you're ready, Riley, feel free to fire away.
Hey, Robert. So I'm migrating from V8 to V9 in Dev, and I've kind of wrapped up that migration. Now I'm going back through all the project health reports, right? And one of the things that I'm seeing everywhere is that the air handling item, right, is showing that I need to have air handling steps, and it looks like they're in each flow. But I have an air handling flow set under manage health air handling. So I'm just wondering why that air handling item is showing up on the health report.
Let's do some exploring. Let me pull up a project that what can I do here? I know this one's going to have probably the worst health score ever. This is the craziest architected. Let me see if I can figure out. Let me see if I can get a common. Okay, so project health, you're saying, is always kind of knocking you down.
Yeah, so like on any flow, it looks like if you don't have an air handler directly in that flow, it's going to show a score of 0.
Okay.
But I have air handling set on the project.
Right.
Yep,
Let
right
me
there.
see here. Yeah, let me see. I'm not sure if I'll have to look at documentation real fast. I'm not sure if it automatically runs that flow. Let me look here real quick. Project health is probably the place it goes. My guess is, well, this is pure speculation, but my guess is that that's a default flow, but you still need to, in the flow, specify.
In my testing, when I was building that out, whenever I was building that last week, 2 weeks ago, I didn't have to put a throw or a catch exception.
Yeah.
I just did an add step with no inputs, ran it, and it hit that air handling flow and generated the assignment, sent an email.
Nice. So even without a catch exception, if you had when you had the flow in here and air handling, it just ran it automatically.
It did.
That is interesting. Let me see if I can figure out why. I'm just gonna put something on here that just will give me. Just let me get caught up with you because it looks like you've already done some stuff here. I should get rid of this catch exception. I think this is dividing 0 by 0. So we should get a pop-up here.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you are right. It does run that flow. Okay, so then let's backtrack to where, and I think we should build a line here. If I go to my project health and I look at this flow, I should have a problem because there's no error handling. Interesting. Yeah, I see exactly what you're talking about. Let's think here. That might be something that we might just have to get. It might just be, I mean, I apologize for the poor wording, but maybe an oversight, like something I just didn't think about. So if I add it, but if I add a catch exception step in there, that goes away. Or do we not
Oh,
know
okay.
yet? I'm
I
gonna
I didn't even try that. 'Cause I wasn't sure if I was doing something wrong or if this is.
let's test it right now, man. I got time. Nobody's asking any more questions. Let's just see if I would assume that what you my if it's working the way that we just proved that it does, I think that that's an oversight or like an incorrect type of calculation that just needs to be accounted for in the next iteration, like a 9. Because I'm on 9.6, which is the newest, maybe up to 9.7. Let's
Yeah.
see what we're looking at health here now. Okay, so I put an error. I put up that brought me up to a 0. You know, it's interesting though, is even this is getting us, which is the flow is just for my error handling, is getting a 0 for error handling, which is
Yeah.
no bueno. Yeah, let me just try one more thing here, and if not, like I said, I might just be some type of or I could forward that to the devs and see if they can put something in. Let's see one more time here. Instead of like a log steps, we'll just do a quick log. Uh, all right, now what is our score here? Yeah, so you're right. It is. To me, it feels like an oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
Very good.
I'm gonna keep looking. Like I've got the documentation right up right now that I was kind of looking side-eyed at, and I was seeing if um seeing if anything comes up, but that doesn't sound correct to me. I
Right.
mean,
I think it's a great idea, right? You
yeah.
do one air handling for everything in that project instead of putting
Hmm.
it in each flow. Then it still throws the error. So or
Yeah.
it gives you the message.
Yeah,
And
just kind of go ahead.
I was gonna say I do have another one related
Sure.
to the health score.
Yeah, man.
I have several data sources with items marked as PII, and that's generating a warning, which is impacting the health score as well. And I didn't, so I have a couple of these health related issues, and I didn't know if maybe if there was a setting for it. I wanted to talk to you before I submitted a ticket with kind of all these items. Um,
Yeah. What
but
type of data structure is it? Do you know?
it's a flow execution extension, which I don't think you have anymore, right?
Correct.
In
I'm not going to have
9.6.
that. Yeah.
Let me just try
I can do
maybe just a
case.
straight database structure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Does it allow-
Let me go ahead and just. Well, I guess
Can you do PII here?
I'm not sure. I can go to an iteration that has this thing. We can test it this way. No problem. This is 8 something. It's super ugly. Apologies for the poor organization. Can I hide that? Nice. Um, okay, so you said I need to get rid of this design pattern for sure.
Yeah, so you set it up with flagged as PII, and then the health score shows a warning that, like, okay, great, I know it's PII. Now what?
Yeah. You are right. Now what? Oh, so you're on a, I'm not even gonna be able to test this either because I don't,
Right.
there's no
Right.
else. Oh man.
There's
I
no
just
help
realized
on
I was like,
originate.
yeah, yeah. The only thing I could do is make a project, export it, import it into
No.
my 9.3. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of an ugly process. Um,
But there's no, I guess maybe the bigger question is there's no settings that I can manage how the health score is calculated. Like
No, there
I
is
can't tell
not.
it's okay.
Yeah,
thank you, Gregory. Yeah.
yeah. There's no way currently in the product to customize what is counted for or against your health score. There are ways to kind of get around and manipulate some of the things, but no way to actually set that yourself.
Okay. Very good. Okay, then maybe I'll just put these all in kind of an informational ticket to you guys to do it.
Yeah,
Do what you
certainly
want
the
in a later
first one about
version.
certainly the first one about the exception handling. Yeah, it's a needless, if you have, you shouldn't have to put exception handling. I guess you should maybe, but exception handling steps in your exception handling flow, that we're
Right.
getting that, then we're getting into some kind of crazy.
Right.
But I guess, if you really want to be thorough, that is probably a best practice, is that no matter what, you always have some type of catch exception. But I do wonder on those if it runs both. Like if it like on 9.6 or 9.3 or what version you're on, if I put specified exception handling, does it also run that flow as well? Like if I got a secondary pop-up, will it show two
Right.
pop-ups? Or we'll just prioritize one. We'll make this. All right. So we should get maybe potentially two pop-ups here. Just the one. So it doesn't even run. If I put it didn't run that primary or the default.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So then, yeah, there's just is this whole loop process that you kind of get in this infinite loop. Yeah. Sorry about that, man.
No worries. No worries. Just want to make sure I wasn't doing something wrong, if there was a way to control that. Just seemed like the intention was that you put that in at the project level, and if you want to do additional ones like you just did, you do that if you want to. But if not, just
Yeah.
rely on that one.
I
Okay.
do know it's one of those things where
Yeah.
they plan on coming down the pipeline, but it's one of those waiting for it to kind of be right.
Yeah. No worries.
Cool.
Very good. Thanks,
Yeah,
Robert.
no problem. Thank you. Right. No, thank you. What other questions we got in the chat queue? We got a number of people. Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to put it in the chat, the QA. Not sure which one's enabled or disenabled at this moment, but I'm sure one of them's working. So, any questions for me? If not, I can do some of that. We were talking about 9.6 a moment ago. I can show some of the more 9.6 stuff, just because I just did. Um, talk about it. All right, one thing I'll show you really quick. I just activated this today. I'll put it in the chat for everybody if you are interested. I'll cover it as well, kind of do some kind of poking around. I just activated this 55 minutes ago. This is made by me, but it's not all. It is kind of some new features via 9.6. I'll kind of walk through it. I just made that live here a few moments ago. In this video, basically, you walk through. There's only one breaking change, and it's going to be having to do with the cache management for your steps. So we've updated until the revitalized cache management in 9.6. So if you have the previous version of 9.6, some of that stuff is not going to be there. Some stuff that I think is, a cool paradigm shift, especially if you're coming from 8, or even if you're coming from an earlier iteration of 9, is this kind of stuff. So let's do LNL new project. And some of this stuff is just quality of life, like not super feature heavy, but I do think it's great. New stuff. The first thing you'll notice when you make a project in version 9.6 And again, feel free to interrupt me anytime if anyone's got any kind of questions, but that folder scaffolding doesn't come by default anymore. We included that iterations ago, thinking it'll help people keep people organized. But I think we have found and got feedback from customers that it actually caused some frustrations in that world. But let's say you're like, well, I like that. I wanted to do that thing. You could still bring those back right here and allow certain designer elements, and you can lock things how you do want them. So I can say, oh, I only want flows. I want that flows folder back, whatever it might be. And now I have flows back. And again, up here, I can only create flows. I can still move elements in here, but like this action bar is going to have only create flows in it. So if you have a form or something along those lines and you want to move it in there, then you can create it that way. Sean, I don't mind talking about it a little bit. Yeah, if you 1.2 and 2.13, can you just copy? I don't have the task list. Can you just copy and paste those into the QA, and I can kind of talk and walk my way through some of the ideologies, and we can maybe all learn something from it. Sometimes it's good to kind of look at stuff from that angle. So if you just tell me what parts of the task list that is, maybe copy and paste it, I will gladly talk and walk my way through it. Yeah, that's new. And while we're kind of getting that stuff from Sean, I'll just show you a couple more things here. We've had some UI changes. Some of this is not 9.6. Some of this mapping stuff, as you might saw earlier, the way that this is lined up is new. I believe 9.4, 9.5. The utilization of corners, I believe, is 9.5. But some UI stuff like this has changed a little more clear. And it's just a little more, straightforward, I feel like. User defined type, create purchase flow. This can be found in your toolbox under user defined type. Build data. No problem at all, Sean. Cool. So Sean had a question, and it's related to case entities. So I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to go back to, maybe it's not case entity. Create purchaser flow, steps to main, user defined type. Yeah, it's case entity. Perfect. I was right. Let's talk about case entities real fast and how they work and how it's going to work in that project for you, Sean. And if you're having problems again, Sean, I can get on a call with you right after this and have you share your screen, but just with these lunch and learns, because we have it's just a policy. No one's allowed to share their screen. So if this doesn't give you the answers you need, feel free to reach out to training@decisions.com or something, Feel free to email training@decisions.com, and one of us can get on a call with you where you can share your screen and we can walk through it. But I will kind of just talk through how case entities works, just because it's a useful task. So for everyone that may not be able to see the Q&A, it has to do with the creation of a case entity and then populating the information for it. So let's do it this way here. I'm actually going to go back over here and break this, create a new one. All right, so in this project, we have a case entity. And all the questions, at least the first one, is directly related to the case entities and how to get data in there. And then the assignment stuff. Sure, no problem at all, man. So I'm going to kind of build this on the fly. It's a case entity. I'm not going to build out every single structure, but you can imagine that I did. I don't want to use an older version, but let's say this is called purchase request. And let's just say I have item, total cost is a decimal. And I think, oh, no spaces. Well, I got a problem here. All right. Let's just say item total cost, and let's just say email, just for simplicity. Again, you can imagine that I filled out the rest of these. So how this is going to work is in your flow, and for the first part, it says add the create purchase request step to the main flow. This can be found in your flows toolbox. I think I have one slowly built out. Gregor, do you know if this one, or is the one, do you have one with the case entity built out, or is this still a flow execution extension in this version?
Let me check.
It is. Okay. All right, so I'll build it out a little bit. Somewhere in your process, wherever you're saving data, Sean, if I had to imagine, I have an older version here. It's going to be after your form. So your form is going to have data coming out of it in some capacity. So let's call this purchase request main flow. So when I make a structure in decisions, I am making a database table essentially that lives underneath decisions that I can interact with. So the first part of that 121, it says add user defined type, create purchase request flow, add create purchase request step to the main flow. So again, you have a form here that you can imagine. Let's placeholder here. Let's imagine this is your form and it's outputting data. We don't have it outputting data yet, but let's imagine that it is. If you go down here to user defined types on the very, very low left, and if you're on version 8, still the same thing, user defined types, it'll show you, okay, well, what types of structures do we have? I just made a case entity. So if I drop down case entity, I will then see, nice, Greg, I might hand it off to you in a second then. If I have a case underneath a case entity, I'm going to have purchase request. These steps under these user defined types are going to allow us to populate that table that lives underneath decisions so that we can fetch from it later, we can report on it, those kind of things. So again, add the create purchase request step to the main flow. I will drag it right here. And that kind of checks off half of that 121. Now, all of this information over here can be kind of overwhelming. And this is kind of going to get to how case entities works, which is kind of where I think this is general knowledge for everyone if you are still learning. Case entities are essentially, there's a number of ways to look at them, but a simple way to look at them is a case entity is creating a folder that has data in it. That folder can store things. That folder can be sent through a process. That folder can be triggered to run other flows. But essentially, you have this kind of folder that you can also adjust the settings and actions that can be performed on those folders. So somewhere in your public folder, you should have at some point made another folder called purchased, all purchase requests or something like that. Just a place to store these, all purchased requests, right? In this folder, if I right click this, I can get the folder ID, right? I might be able to just pick it from the flow. I'll test that here in a second. But essentially, that's where I'm going to want to store every folder that this makes. So for parent folder ID, I'm going to make this a constant. And I should, I actually just have to pick it. So I can pick it from here, and there it is. So every folder that this makes will get ported over into this parent folder ID. A couple more things here. It says the parent folder ID purchase request. I said that. In the drop-down list, select build data. So on this extension data, it says, okay, you're making a folder here. Do you want to store any data in it? Yes, I do. So if I build data here, you will see those fields, email, item, and total cost that I made with the structure. There's also this other, like you can kind of maybe consider it metadata that kind of comes with these case. And, imagine if you have a folder on your Windows desktop, there's when was the folder created? If the folder was already deleted, is there a description? Those kind of things. But for now, I can store some stuff here and say, from here, you're going to select from flow and take the output of your form. But for now, just to show you how it works, and I'm going to have Gregory kind of show you a built-out build here in a second, I'm just going to put in some constants. But again, for yours, you're going to want to select from flow and take the output of your form. So when you click your form, you'll have outputs here, and you're going to map them in this way. And the item, I'll just say a mouse. And the total cost here as a constant, I'll just say $25, something like that. Now, there are two more fields here that I think are built in here. The folder name and folder description. For yours, you're going to want to, again, I'll have Gregory show you this in a moment, but you can merge text and get some data. For now, I'm just going to make it a constant so you see how it works. Robert mouse. And then I can add a description, and I'll make this a constant as well. Again, you can merge plain text. I'll have Gregory show you this here in a second. But this is a description of the folder. Now, just for simplicity, again, I kind of want to show you what this is going to look like. When I run this flow, it hits that thing, that create step, it makes a folder in here with that information, Robert mouse. I can click that folder and see the data that lives within it, and I can perform actions with that based on some of this configuration folder stuff. But that's the overall process of that. I'm going to flip over and let Gregory kind of show off like a working project because he has a built out version of it. So it's not so random, but I'll let him take over for here. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see. I'm just trying to share my screen. Pardon me for just a moment here. Here we go. All right, so this is the overview of the purchase request main build right here. Just like Rob was saying, you've got a form that's outputting data that the user is going to put in themselves, and then that data gets passed to a create case entity type, in our case, purchase request. This one, when we built data, has all the fields that we're looking for, right? Department, item name, need by date, price per item, and the rest going forward. In the folder name, we've selected merge text instead of constant, and what this lets us do is take elements from the flow itself, these variables that will get populated by the user inputting them into the form, and combine them with constant text, to allow for a more streamlined and pleasant looking folder name when it gets created. So I'm going to run this once and I will show you where these get created so you can see what this kind of formatting looks like in just a moment. We have to set up our rules, right? Because part of the setup of this project is you have to route it to certain areas based upon certain rules. Here, if the total amount is less than 500, it gets auto approved. Here, if it is over 500, then it has to get put to a particular manager based on department, right? These are the ways that you change the entity state. I'm going to go outside and show you what I mean by that real quick. So when you have purchase requests right here in the configuration folder, you can set up different states that this entity exists in. And these states are the ones that you can, in later sprints, as you'll see, have different flows that trigger from them, different actions that are available based upon the state that this entity is in. And it's a really powerful tool to allow you to work with that data in particular ways when it's in particular states. So when I am using that set state step, I am moving each entity into a different state based upon logic in this flow. Here's our manager approval form, right? And we have input all of the data that we outputted from this form. So his is pre-populated. And then if he denies it, that changes the state. If he approves it, that also changes the state. So I'm going to run this real quick. I'm going to run the flow. And now I'll just put some names. I'll put test and then the requester email. Let's see. Here we drop down, pick our department, right? And this is going to determine where it's routed. I'm going to specify the need by date as multiple days in the future here. I'll say I need a new desk lamp or something like that, or multiple, and we're going to need 6 of them. The price per item, I believe, is going to be $17.99, and that total cost will auto-populate. This was in the requirements, and you'll have to set this up in your form, but this is, again, kind of an overview of the process. So I'm going to submit this request, and now it's going to go to a particular manager based upon that, or get auto-approved if it's less than 500, which in this case it was. So now if we go to that purchase request that just got created today, right? Purchase request dash test user dash lamps dash need by date, right? And this was the one that was specified a while ago. My apologies. Looks like I use lamps a lot. So purchase request, test, lamps, and then need by date is specified in this. If I go in here, you'll see all the data that I put in right here. Total cost, requester name. And in this folder is what's called process tracking. This shows you what state it's currently in, what other states it could possibly be in, and you can even make comments or have certain assignments attached per specific states. So we're an auto approved, which in our case is basically the end of the line here. Decisions doesn't know what particular state ends everything, right? So if I go into here and you'll see auto approves the second one, it will assume that the last one is the lowest one at the bottom when you saw the purchase request there. But depending on your logic, you may want to set that up differently for whatever kind of builds you're going to be making on your own. But is that making any sense? Did you have any particular questions based upon what we're showing you here? Rob's was in the public folder. My folder is right here. You'll want to follow the task list to put in the correct one, but just showing you can put in either folder. You should be able to talk as well. I think I unmuted you.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think my questions were mostly around what's all that red stuff in the folder, and the build data was a huge thing that he clicked on. So there was so much red over there, and I just didn't get the folders. So knowing that I could ignore like the description and how to build out the merge text on the folder name. So I got the folder ID, but that was it. And I didn't know about the build data. I didn't quite get that part. So I think on this particular thing, I might be good. I mean, I have some edits to make. One question on the merge text, though, if we can go
Yeah,
into that.
absolutely.
When you click merge text, my screen looks different. I have version 9 something. But every time I pull in something like requester name, item name, it goes to a new line. Is that going to be a formatting kind of issue?
It goes to a new line.
Yeah, I'll like type purchase request and then I'll drag in because you have all these options on the left. I'll drag in requester name and it says, let me just,
And when you drag it in, it goes to a new line.
it goes to a new line and it says requester name string, all underline, all blue, but it doesn't have a bubble like yours. I just don't know if the formatting is going to be right. I mean, I'll
Oh,
eventually
let
find
me.
out with tests.
The bubbles are new. The bubbles are 9.6. That's like a UI change.
Yeah. And for yours as well, you don't have to drag it. It looks like dragging's creating a new line. If you just click it, it'll add it in the line next to it.
Oh, let me try that.
Yeah, so that's all you need to do is just click it and it'll add it in line. I think the dragging's what's created the new line, which is interesting to note. I did not know that.
Yeah, the dragging does create a new line. I just tested it on mine. It does. If I try and drag something right after it, oh no, it doesn't. I can do it both ways, I guess.
Okay, I was like clicking and double clicking it, but you have to click the little plus thing that eventually shows up.
Oh,
I was wondering,
right.
I was
This
Yeah,
one
wondering, I was
doesn't
like,
have the
I have to
plus.
drag it in, but okay.
yeah,
Small thing.
and part of the 9 again. I keep jumping back to 9.6 just because I just made the content around it, but they've changed that in this newest version of 9.6 where you can drag and drop from anywhere on that line and it will drag over and merge plain text and merge HTML text. You don't have the plus sign anymore, but the training container is just on 9.3 still. We haven't fully updated all those yet.
Okay, and well, cut to the meat on the form manager approver one. I mean, I got the whole setup looks kind of just like this, right? I was following the documentation. The form manager approver, I think it looks fine. I've had the version of it where it's read only, has the extra button. There's something in the, I think it's assignment setup where it, let me read that requirement again. Yeah, build array. Wait. Yeah, I think it's the build array part, accounting groups. So add item and item 0 and map it to the truth table output. So I think the truth table is right. So I think maybe it's the assignment setup. You pull in the truth table, but then you have to like, is this where you say item 0 equals this manager item?
Right,
No, that's in the
right.
truth table, isn't it?
Let me go in the truth table
Yes.
here. So the truth table is specifying what the output account is for the manager based upon the department, right? So if it's IT, it outputs this. If it's human resources, outputs this. PS this. Yeah, you see where this is going. So it's that output that gets categorized as approver routing result. Whichever one of those is outputted is stored in that variable right here. You can change the name of this if you want, but that's what it's called by default in this particular truth table output. When you are assigning it, and then you go to that assignment setup, you do build array, and then I select from flow data, right? What I selected was the approver routing result, and by default, it's passing out a list, not a single item. So I just select the first one because I know it's only supposed to pass out one item based on my truth table logic. I can't have more than one in this list based on how I set up my truth table.
I just didn't select first. I didn't realize string versus list. I think that's probably going to be it.
Yeah, no worries. It's another way that could be done is, let's see, is it outcome here or is it in the truth table itself? Let me check something real quick. There is a very particular setting in here. Where is it? There is a setting to output only the first result of the truth table rather than the entire thing. Maybe it's under advanced.
And that's
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
truth table. versus the
Execution
flow?
result type, first match only, right?
Hmm.
So if I do that, and because my output is a string in the truth table, as soon as I change that, this is now an output of string, not an output of a list of strings. So you could do it that way and just map in one item without doing first as well. So either way works.
So I had two generic questions that
Yeah.
mean nothing. So the first one, when I build the flow, I just kind of said, okay, I'm not getting this step. I'm going to skip it and keep building. So I had a form or a create purchase request with that red exclamation point on it, telling me there's an error. But when I was like, is there a way to see what the error is? I was kind of hovering over it, hoping that is there like a giant list or an easy way
Yeah.
to see the error? Ah,
Yeah, Greg.
Yep. Right over
wow.
here, you can see all the errors in the flow by checking this. I don't have any here, but
Make one. Yeah.
I'll make
Just
an
make
error real quick.
just change the purchase request form. Yeah, select from flow in one of those,
And then just
and then
put
close
nothing
out.
in it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now this error appears here. Purchase request form, data not found.
That would help a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
The other generic question, I was kind of building and jumping back to like the project and then going to flow or going to rule, going to truth table. Do you have to jump out of the flow every time to do something like create a form or
Not necessarily. I'll show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to. The only way to like not jump out is
maybe
you have to have
manage is
multiple
the right
tabs.
word. Like if I wanted to manage the truth table, did you actually jump out of there or did you just double click that?
I just jumped into it
Ah,
right here. Edit approver routing.
okay.
A lot of steps have an edit on the top. I can't say all of them do, but most of them do. So here I can go in, edit the form, I exit out, and now I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes for rules, forms. What wouldn't? Database integrations won't. So if I create a database integration and then use it in my flow, I can't alter the query directly in the flow. I do have to exit out of it and alter it. But in most cases, as you see, you have an edit button right here.
Perfect. I just missed that. Okay. I think my two blockers are unstuck and I can continue working. And I'll check back if I get blocked or stuck again when I can't figure it out. But I think I'm good.
Awesome,
Appreciate the
glad to hear
insight.
it.
We did get another question from Grant. Thank you for the question. Came in a couple moments ago. And thank you again, Sean, for the question. I always appreciate having something to talk about here. I can jump back on this, Gregor, if you don't mind. Thank you for
Yeah, absolutely.
picking up with that built out project. Sorry about not having it. If you Cool. So the question is related to data repeater signature pads dynamically populating based on inputs. I'd imagine yes. I would imagine yes. Let's do it. Let's build one out really quick. But I would definitely imagine the answer to that is yes. So, well, let me before I get into that, let's not jump the gun on that. Let's say I got to clear out this project at some point. Create a flow. We're gonna say this is the data repeater for Grant. I'll unmute you too in case you can feel free to just interrupt me at any point in time. I'm gonna just because of the principality of what we're fetching, I don't think really matters all that much. I'm just gonna fetch a count and put it into the form, which is gonna have a data repeater on it. And then make sure that I think that if we do it that way, because we do something similar in another project. Let me see if I can. So let's say I get a count. Depending on how many accounts I get, it should populate this many data repeaters. Create a new form. Ah, I'm not even sharing my screen. Gregor just told me. Sorry, folks. Here we go. I'd already started. There we go. Cool. Just to backtrack, I made a form. Or sorry, I made a fetch entities. I'm fetching a count because again, it's kind of arbitrary what I'm fetching because we're mainly concerned about the signature pad information. I think at this point, I'm gonna create a new form. I'm gonna call this the data repeater form with sig. All right. So data repeater. Let's make this thing big. Let's make it big. Let's make it big. Let's make it big. Feeling good about that. Pick a create source, create a new repeater control. repeater control. I'm gonna add 2 fields here. I always forget what- The order of operations is what gets me here. So I believe in this sig pad info, I believe. There's always this weird order of operations in which you gotta come in and out on this one. Just add a button real fast, gonna get rid of some of these validations. All right, in here, data name, count. I always forget where you pick the structure, because it has to be a complex type.
It's
Um,
inside of the data
repeater.
repeater.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
on the properties itself. So like click background.
Yep, there it is. Thank you, man. Yeah, I knew it was account. All right, so now that we have that, I should be able to get. Should I have to put labels here, Gregory? Greg?
You don't have to put labels on the data name by the pencil on the top right. I
Mm.
think you click that and then pull from the form data. The only issue I see with this is we're not going to be able to do that with signature pad info because we don't have that data type in the account type. Unless we made one for it. I might have missed that.
Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, I see what you're saying. So then I might have been wrong here. Let's go. Let's just see if we can keep building out here. Signature pad info. Can we get this to go away? Maybe some type of show clear button.
And
No.
Robert,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
if you need to, you can just like get rid of the signature pad part for now, and then I just need to make sure that it can update like dynamically, just to make sure that I can get a certain number based off of how many it counts
Mhm.
from the fetch
Yeah.
entities. So if
Yeah,
you
that's
want
what,
to just do that and make it a little easier for you.
yeah, so this, maybe I'm wrong, but, dang it. What's going on here? Give me one more moment here. Oh, I gotta select entity results. Ignore. All right, one more time here. So here's that information. I don't have any last names associated with it, but they should be here. You can turn these off. Let me get a field that I actually have data on so it doesn't look so bad here. Let's just say rather than last name, we'll do like created on date or something, or type. Is there like a user type? There we go. And again, you can kind of lock these. So initially enabled, turn off initially enabled, so they can't be changed. All right. So yeah, this one should populate those two. What did I miss here? Error and process assignment. Nullable, something about a nullable field. But yeah, that is the functionality of the data repeater, is that it will scale. It's something with this field. That's all I messed with. I'll just put email address for both just for simplicity. But you can imagine it's separate fields. So here's that information. If I put a modifier on here, it'll scale. That part will scale. So let's say I say, okay, now I'm actually going to add a fetch criteria to get less results. I can say, okay, I only want to find it where the email address contains. Oh, I can leave this blank. Always get that kind of goofy. And then make this a constant. The email address contains the word decisions. And now it should only show me the one, admin@decisions.com. So that part that is the functionality of a data repeater. The signature pad, he is right. The more I think about it, unless there's some type of control here.
Awesome. Very good.
Do you got anything, Greg, you think of?
All you need to do is create a new data type that has a signature pad data type in it, and it will work fine. It can be blank still. That's not a problem. You just need to create a data structure that has that data type in it.
Feel free to share the screen and I can talk to
Okay.
you. Like you're curious, like, hey, what
So if you create a data structure that has like first name, last name, and then signature pad info, it can be blank. It doesn't have to be filled if the other two are still there, as long as you have one that has a blank signature pad, and then you can even save that data with the first name, last name to be used later. So, yeah. Actually, we can probably create that real quick. That shouldn't be too long. It's just going to take a while to make some
Populate.
entities with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I'm just doing one more thing here.
It's a combination of file data and JSON structure. There might be file data in this, but I doubt there's JSON structure inside of the counts.
Well, that wouldn't send the data out though. Yeah. But yeah, so basically what Gregor's saying, to keep it kind of simple here, is you can make a structure. In your structure, you can have it, and then it'll work that way. First, last, signature pad, info. I think you'd probably want this to be null, right? Allowed null.
I think so. That makes sense to
So
me.
that we can populate it and leave that blank and then rewrite over top of it.
Right.
And then again, just ignore this. One more. We'll see two here. Greg G, Rob G. So we'll change this fetch entity now. We'll change it to that your structure we made for you. We'll change that structure we made right there for you. And then now we can go, okay, we got to change this to data repeater. You got stuck here. I got to change the structure because we're not dealing with the count anymore. We made that structure for you. Grant. And now we've done that. We should be able to select these and go through that same kind of process. First, last, and then ideally this should work for us. Sig info. And now, depending on how we populate, again, we have two records in there that we just created. Oh, that's smart. That's smart. Jared in the background, I don't know if you heard him, but you probably didn't. He was saying it might also be good at, rather than putting that signature pad on the data repeater, put a button that will populate a signature pad so it'll be larger, and they can click the button, get a signature pad, and then it will write it out. And it'll still kind of bypass it a little bit. Let me fix this real fast. Let's just test this first functionality, and then I don't mind walking on that road a little bit, but that might be a better UI for you. Yep, here's see what he's saying about the signature pad being kind of small. But if you had a button, it would load up for you, but it depends on how you want to do it. Is that helpful at all to you, Grant? Oh, sorry, my power went out. Yeah,
Hey, sorry about that. Yeah.
no, you're good.
No, that helps me because what I'll do is I'll just have it where it looks for in the entity step, just looks for managers and from a certain department. and then just have it populate that form. But yes, that is very close to what I wanted to do. So I appreciate that.
Cool. All right. Any other questions we got, folks? Like I said, we did about 50 minutes. I'm glad to take anything else anybody's got. I know we're kind of running low on attendees at this point, but I will gladly, and this will all be on YouTube. So if your power went out, you missed a section of it, feel free to watch it on there. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call it a day. We will be back tomorrow with Gregory, smartest guy I know. He'll be able to rock it for you tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining. See you tomorrow.